absolute cowardly, two-faced way that Keir Starmer has responded to the murder of Henry Nowak. I'm sure by now you've seen the footage, you know the details, but if you haven't, this can be quite distressing, but we're going to show it. You have an 18-year-old kid, 18-year-old white kid, just a kid, dying on the pavement, having been stabbed 5 times. The police arrive, and instead of leaping into action, they just don't believe he's been stabbed. Worse than that, they arrest him. All right, let's play the full clip of what's going on.
Hand.
I can't breathe.
Put the hand in the cuff, mate.
Yeah.
This is like
The hardest part for me, and it's a point I read from Alison Pearson in the Telegraph, is that you would think the moment of police arriving would have been relief for that dying teenager. Here came help. He now had a chance at surviving this. But instead, the police officer, he didn't think Henry had been stabbed. As you saw, he put him in cufflinks. He died with police arresting him for racial assault. That's the last interaction he had with this world, was being arrested for racism. Have a listen to Henry's emotional father outside court.
Henry was pulled across the gravel, his hands forced behind his back, and he was placed in handcuffs. Instead of being treated as a dying victim, police formally arrested Henry for assault and read him his rights. That was the last thing he heard. Henry did not die with dignity. He did not die with the care he deserved. He lost consciousness before anyone believed him.
These officers arrived at a scene with one person saying they've been racially abused and another person saying they've been stabbed. And the person that gets believed gets the most immediate attention and care. The person that avoids being arrested is the stabber. Now, that is an unbelievable failure of duty of care here. But for this editorial, I want to get into Keir Starmer's response. Because the murder of Henry Nowak has so many echoes of George Floyd and the way society talked about it. And Starmer's response to those two issues and the differences between them, mind-boggling. So the parallels with George Floyd are clear, right? The most obvious one, George Floyd, Henry Nowak both died saying, "I can't breathe." They were repeated as they were dying. They were witnessed by police officers who could have easily been doing more to help them. Second parallel, you have the backdrop of race relations. George Floyd became an instant symbol for how white police officers treated black suspects. Now Henry Nowak is now a symbol of a two-tier policing in the United Kingdom. The white person lays dying, the Sikh killer gets believed. In fact, as Nowak's father explained, the difference goes so much deeper than that.
The way he was treated was inhumane and degrading. His murder, however, was afforded decency. He was believed. He was not handcuffed when arrested. He was not handcuffed when transported to the police station. As far as we understand, he was never handcuffed at all.
There's even reports that the police helped him go to the kitchen so he could pick out food. But to bring this back to Keir Starmer, let's remember how he responded to George Floyd's death. I want to show this photo. He, along with his then deputy leader, Angela Rayner, took the knee in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. This photo was captioned on X, "We kneel with all those opposing anti-black racism, hashtag Black Lives Matter." Okay, so now how did he respond to Henry Nowak's death?
I have seen the body cam footage. It's harrowing. I felt sick watching it. It is absolutely right that the IOPC are looking at this. There are clearly serious questions that need to be addressed.
And he's also posted this to X. "This is an awful, shocking case. Henry's loved ones have gone through the trauma of a long trial and endured Henry's killer making up appalling claims about their son, who was thoughtful, kind, and deeply loved. It is right that the IOPC is investigating the police's response to his senseless murder. And here's the key part, and we must end the cycle of tragedy by tackling the horror of knife crime." Let's break this down. Knife crime. Keir Starmer thinks that this murder shows the horror of knife crime. Now, on a simple level, that just shows how out of touch he is with voters. Is anyone in the UK right now talking about knife crime? Or are people talking about whether there is embedded racism within the UK police and what can be done about it? But that is not how he responded to George Floyd's murder. His response to George Floyd, if he even needed one, to have one, I mean, he was the opposition leader of the UK at the time, very, very little to do with Minnesota. But his response could have been talking about police training, police militarization, police standards, but no, show the photo again. His response was a Black Lives Matter, which has the implicit assumption that George Floyd died because black lives don't matter to white cops in the United States. His response was also his participation in a ritual where white people must take a knee to bow to black people to acknowledge the power imbalance that exists apparently across the world. So immediately, Keir Starmer put race at the very center of that one. So when the victim is a minority, it is a racial problem to Keir Starmer. When the victim is white, it is a knife crime problem. The second key part of this is the call for a police investigation. I want to play something else Keir said in that interview.
The IOPC is obviously carrying out its investigation. It's right that they're given, all that they need to get to the bottom of this. But I do think included in that will have to be this question of how accusations, allegations of racism informed or fed into the decision-making in that particular case, because it is impossible to watch that footage.
You see there he's talking about how we need to bring in the question. He's not saying anything or whether or not he expects to find it. We just need to bring in the question that's on all of the UK's lips. So here's the thing about this. I generally prefer when politicians wait for proper investigations to take place before they react to something horrific. Going back to Minnesota, Democrats reacting to Karen Reid's death in a standoff with ICE before all of the facts came out made that situation way worse than it needed to be. So while this is horrific and that body cam basically shows an open and shut case of what happened, it is important there is a full investigation into those police officers before you have government leaders making big decisions. But what gets me is the hypocrisy. Did Starmer wait for all the facts to come out about George Floyd before he took the knee? Did he appeal to everyone to be calm and measured and not jump ahead of a police investigation? Or did he take the first opportunity he could to throw himself into a movement and assign blame to police officers that they were so racist they did not care a man died in custody? He jumped on the bandwagon of a really heated movement as fast as he could that said whites and blacks are two separate groups that are at odds with each other and something needs to happen. Look, Keir Starmer is a couple weeks away from being resigned to the dustbin of history. We're all going to move on and forget he ever existed. It's going to be a better world. But it is such an indictment on him personally how two-faced he can be on these stories. This is a guy that takes a temperature check with the radical left and adjusts whatever position he has accordingly. When George Floyd was killed, he immediately launches into social justice action. Racism was immediately at the heart of what happened. White people everywhere need to pay penance for what happened. But when the victim is an 18-year-old British white kid pleading for his life while his Sikh stabber calmly explains to the police about a faked racial assault, that's apparently not a racial issue, that's a knife crime issue. There is no social justice problem. There's no imbalance in addressing racial relations. That is just a cowardly response from a cowardly Prime Minister.